Can I be angry for a moment? I keep getting warned away from this subject. Numerous people have told me nobody cares about trans teens. Suicide bums people out, and in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where 3 trans teens killed themselves in the space of 1 year, a religious leader essentially said, "Go away." Still, the story as reported by only a few media outlets is being ignored. And as anti-trans legislation continues to barrel its way across the country,
the controversial transgender health care and women's sports bill will become law in Ohio in 90 days.
The bill would ban all forms of gender-affirming care for minors in Ohio.
And there is no such thing as gender-affirming care.
no! Still, why is it important to tell this story? Well, first of all, teens are hurting. Teens are dying. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death of teens. LGBTQ and trans teens attempt suicide at a greater rate than anybody else. This has to stop. Now, from all indications, the 3 teens in Lancaster, Pennsylvania were deeply loved by their families. But that's not always the case. I grew up in a conservative Christian, hostile, a hostile and sometimes violent home. In a fit of rage, my father once stuffed a dirty sock in my mouth. And that's just a fact. Years later, while working with the Jungian therapist, I brought the therapist a dream I had in which I saw a sign that looked just like this. My Jungian therapist jumped all over this image and said, "Aha, there it is. You're suicidal." His reaction pissed me off so much, I almost walked out. But he and the dream were right, and I remained depressed and suicidal for decades. However, it ended some years ago when late one night I pulled into the carport and had an extraordinary thing happen to me. What some experts refer to as a flash forward when it comes to suicide. Out of the blue, I imagined I had a gun in my hand. Then all of a sudden, I felt it go off. It felt so real. I felt the bullet travel through my brain, and this is the important part. I felt it tear across and sever a very specific connection. It felt so real. Numerous people have suicidal thoughts from time to time. But to me, though, what this flash-forward incident says is that the suicidal impulse sometimes has a very specific goal in mind. A goal that can be achieved through imagination or creativity and not somebody's death.
It was death. I chose life.
Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of movies out there that deal honestly with the subject of suicide, but one that does, in my opinion, is Ordinary People. I saw it in my teens, and it proved to be one of the most moving cinematic experiences I ever had.
Did it hurt?
For me, the important story that movie tells is the Timothy Hutton character who decides not to choose suicide, but instead chooses life. That's the story we're challenged to tell, trans and LGBTQ teens, a story of love and support.
You're here and you're alive. And don't tell me you don't feel that.
It doesn't feel good.
It is good. Believe me.
You know.
Because I'm your friend.